Good afternoon and welcome to UTC Swindon Virtual Open event. We had planned to welcome you on Saturday of this week for our open day, but obviously due to the current COVID situation, we are not able to do so. So thank you for taking the time to watch this presentation. A few points of housekeeping. Firstly, we cannot see or hear you, but there is an opportunity for you to ask questions using the questions and answer button on the Zoom presentation, and we will answer those questions at the end of the presentation and talks. This session is being recorded and it will be published on our website at a later point. Well, as I said, welcome. My name is Trevor. I have the privilege of being principal at UTC Swindon, and the whole idea of this virtual open event is to give you an understanding, a flavour of what the education, specifically UTC Swindon, can offer you if you're a student or your child if you're a parent watching this broadcast. So what we are looking to show you is what UTCs actually provide. And there are 48 UTCs in England. And those UTCs have a range of different specialisms. Right, excuse me while I just get this up and running. There we go. So there are 48 UTCs in England, and there is the range of specialisms that they have to offer. UTC Swindon specialises in engineering with digital technology. Whether a young person joins us at the age of 14 or those two areas are our key specialisms. And I'll be talking a little bit later about our curriculum and how our pathways and routes through the college actually operate. There is a short presentation I would like you to look at.
Anything fun happen at school today?
So a little flavour there of what a UTC education can offer you as a student or your child. And I suppose the reason you might be thinking, or the question you might be thinking about is why. Engineering, and I'm including digital technologies in that, are absolutely vital to our economy. And even more so with the current situation we're in. And you can see some statistics there as to how much it contributes to our economy. There is also a significant shortfall, almost 60,000 annual shortfall of skilled engineers in this country year on year. And clearly, difficulty in recruiting skilled engineers is a problem for us as a nation, both nationally, regionally, and certainly in the Swindon area as well. Almost half companies are experiencing recruitment difficulties. Almost a quarter of our economy up to COVID was being generated through engineering, and there's a large proportion of the workforce employed in engineering. It is a wide-ranging area of expertise. And this slide, the slide shows at the bottom there a really interesting statistic that for every new job that is created in engineering, there's almost 1 3/4 other jobs associated. So it actually adds value, every engineering position. But what about UTC Swindon? Well, I mentioned that we are specialists in engineering and/or digital technology, and that is something that would interest you as a prospective student coming to us. Now, that's not everything. You're not going to be joining us just to study engineering along with digital technologies, but you also, in year 10 and 11, will follow a core of GCSE subjects, and in the sixth form, where you do get more choice, you will also be able to specialise. You would follow a technical pathway, an academic one, which is focusing on STEM-based A-levels, or a combination of both. More of that a little bit later. UTCs are really, really successful in terms of career progression. and where young people go after they're 2 or 4 with us as a UTC. And alongside that, personal development is really crucial in our offer. And students develop a whole range of skills and attributes that are essential for making that next step in their career. These figures here are 2019 national UTC leaver destination statistics. And the UTC figures across the 48 UTCs are in purple. So you will see there that more students, a high proportion of students in UTCs go to university than traditional schools. A much higher proportion go into apprenticeships. More students leaving non-UTCs go into employment and further education. So obviously behind any statistic you can look and see, and where one is higher, one's going to be lower. But really the higher education and the apprenticeship routeways are definitely significant. UTC Swindon there, last year, 2019, 63% of our year 13 leavers went into apprenticeships. And that is one of the highest amongst UTCs. We're really proud of that. The previous year, it was 75%. So that is what we're set up to do, is to actually work with employers and increase apprenticeship opportunities. Now, with the current employment situation in the country and lots of people being furloughed and apprenticeship positions being under pressure, we are still very hopeful that we will have all of our students able to make the choices they want come September when they finish year 11 and year 13. But also some other statistics there. And NEET stands for students who are not in education, employment or training. And nationally, you can see the figure there. And for UTCs, it is a little bit lower. And for UTC Swindon, for the last 2 years, not one student has failed to go into the next steps in terms of a career. So we have been successful in matching students into the next stage of their careers. So again, we are immensely proud of that. And this is the national picture of where UTC students have gone. You can see the bulk have gone into engineering and manufacturing, which isn't surprising when you consider that most UTCs have an engineering joint or sole specialism, but also the other areas there as well. And coming to UTC Swindon does not mean you have to go into engineering, but we'll talk more about careers a little bit later. And there are some destinations for our leavers last year. These are apprenticeships. I put these companies up because all of these companies are new apprenticeship positions that our students took up last year. A wide range of engineering disciplines, and it just really reinforces how exceptionally wide the engineering field is. And then we had 2 students who went to university, one to study chemistry and one to study film production. And the chemistry is with a real focus on chemical engineering. So again, that STEM link is absolutely there. And every year 13 student that left is pursuing a STEM-based apprenticeship or further study. So again, that is a really good measure of our success. Also, what are employers looking for? I mentioned earlier, they are struggling in lots of areas, particularly engineering and digital technology, to recruit young people with the skills they're looking for. This little graphic here illustrates a lot of the skills and competencies or attributes that we work with our young people, with employers, but also within our curriculum and within our enrichment and within our daily working. And that is a really important part of how we work. We are set up to bridge that gap between education and employment. And that is what a UTC does that is very different to a traditional school environment. Underpinning that, we have some core values that we live and breathe with, and this is across our community. We want our community to be respectful of each other, to be organized, to be constructive, and to be kind. Now, none of those things are difficult to achieve. They are very simple values to live by, and that is how we operate as an organization. Now, clearly working in an organization, there are times when things don't always go to our values, but we reinforce how things are going alongside these values, how we act, how we respond, how we work with each other. And again, these values are really, really important in terms of going into a world of work and future life. We are also part of Activate Learning Education Trust. And you can see at the bottom, there are 7 schools and colleges, UTCs, 4 UTCs, in fact, part of this trust. And joining the trust in September 2017 was the start point of massive transformation for UTC Swindon, as well as some of the other schools. And working with our colleagues in these other schools and working with students, whether competitively in competitions, sharing presentations, conferences, is a really important part of our work. And this trust, our trust, Activate Learning Education Trust, has really been inspirational to us as a group moving forward. In terms of our curriculum, this is how it looks. So at the top there, you've got year 10 entry, and we have a technical core. In year 10 and 11, we will offer 2 engineering courses, qualifications, equivalent to GCSE, and a digital IT qualification over the 2 years. All 3 of those qualifications carry the same status as GCSEs. You can get a level 1 pass, which is equivalent to a grade 1, up to a distinction star, which is equivalent to a grade 8 at GCSE. Academic core, we study English language and literature, mathematics, and biology, chemistry, and physics as separate subjects. So it's not a case of the brightest students only taking the biology, chemistry, physics. We offer it to all our students, and that is because of the real STEM focus we have at UTC Swindon. And students will either then choose a specialist option. And we have GCSE computer science. Students that take that would have 2 engineering and 2 digital qualifications. Or if you've got a particularly more biased engineering interest, then you may pick the systems control in engineering certificate as well. That would give you 3 engineering qualifications. In addition, our wellbeing and enrichment centers on personal and professional development, PPD. This is a 1-hour lesson, 1 hour a week lesson in which students work in tutorial groups, focusing a lot on the workforce, but also in terms of employability skills and also PSHE, citizenship, and RE. We also have an hour a week sport and recreation session, and this centres around us going to the Oasis Leisure Centre for a much more recreationally based PE lesson, if you like. And also our students have an entitlement in year 10 to work experience. Now this year, our students should have been going out in 2 weeks' time to work experience, but every student in year 10 has done at least 1 week of virtual work experience. How many schools can say they've done that? In fact, a significant cohort of that student of year 10 have actually done 2 weeks of work experience virtually. And the skills and experiences they'll learn from that will stand them in good stead into the next stage. At the end of year 11, you then have, I suppose, 3 choices. You can apply to UTC Swindon to go into our sixth form. We only offer level 3 provision, so there are entry requirements there. Students could also go to apprenticeships. My feeling is that apprenticeships at 16 are going to be under pressure post-COVID. And there's also the opportunity to go to a further education college. Also, at year 12, we take students from other schools. This might be students who didn't want to specialize quite so much during year 10 and year 11, or have come to engineering or digital technology a bit later. Absolutely fine. You will not be at a disadvantage. Now, at 16, you have a bit more choice, and you can follow a specialist technical pathway with a combination of engineering or digital technology. You could follow one of those separately in its entirety, purely engineering or purely digital. You can follow a limited number of STEM-based A-levels, mathematics, physics, computer science, and chemistry. Or you could combine A-levels with a technical qualification as well. So there's plenty of scope there for you to match your interests and your career aspirations with the subjects and courses we have to offer. And in addition, we also have PPD and work experience and other enrichment activities, which I'll talk a little bit more about later. At the end of year 13, your routeways through out from here are into employment. Not as many students from UTC Swindon go into employment because the vast majority, in fact 100% last year, went into higher education or higher apprenticeships. And then at the end of that, we're looking at employment anyway. And we would want every student that leaves us after year 11 or year 13 to ultimately contribute to our national, local, regional economy through being effective contributors to our employment. In terms of preparation for work, well, I've talked about work experience in year 10 and year 12. Should there be a second or third spike of COVID, we will arrange virtual work experience. The offer there for year 12 was taken up by some of our year 12 students. A lot of our year 12 students do have part-time work. And again, whilst it might not be linked with education, with engineering or digital technology, it is still good practice and preparation for the world of work. We also offer in the sixth form a set of professional qualifications, the Microsoft Technology Associate suite of qualifications. Students can pick and choose what they take on those. And enrichment, we've got a couple of slides here of students. This is a previous year 13 group at MOD Lynham. The Craftsman Cup is a Activate Learning Education Trust competition where students, as part of their engineering course, have a real life project. They have to plan a solution to, come up with designs and present and give an evaluation of their project. And you can see some students from 2 years ago on that. And in Key Stage 4, we also have enrichment opportunities. We have a kit car club that started just before Easter. Unfortunately, has obviously not been continued at the moment. And the picture there is of the previous year's year 10 and 11 students taking part in the Royal Navy Challenge competition down at Gosport at HMS Sultan. That was cancelled this year because of the pandemic. And then the slide at the top there is some of our year 10 students doing the preparation for the Royal International Air Tattoo competition, which again was cancelled this year. So again, a range of STEM-based, employment-based enrichment activities for our students to take part in. We are also one of 15 UTCs, part of the UTC Cyber Group, where we contribute to a range of global organizations in terms of how cybersecurity can be protected, how training young people can direct them towards careers in a lot of these companies in cybersecurity. And again, there is a significant cybersecurity element in the BTEC options that we take for the IT, particularly the diploma in IT has a 120-hour unit on cybersecurity, which links straight into the employability in the cybersecurity sector. We also have a range of companies that work with us, and we have what's called our pipeline program. And this is a program where these employers and others have worked with us to provide 4 days during the year for our year 12 and 13 students who have worked on developing generic work-based skills, but also specific skills in terms of those areas of expertise. And I will zoom in on a couple of those. Fujitsu, they have had cyber penetration practice, which has been sort of practice and fictitious. We've had 4 year 13 students last year, or this academic year, who've worked with Wiltshire Police on live cyber cases as part of that cyber team. And they were so impressed, Wiltshire Police, that they actually made that offer wider to our students to extend the number of days they're working with them. And again, the reason why companies are doing this is because they are struggling to recruit. The Wiltshire Police cyber team struggled to recruit, and they're coming to us to say, look, we want more students like the ones we've seen. And so hopefully that will continue a positive relationship with these companies in terms of providing work-ready young people. Now, I've talked for a long time, and the most important part of this presentation, I believe, is listening to our young people. And I've got 2 students who are going to talk to you. And the first one is Liam Kanyepi, who is a current year 12 student. And the second one is Ben Rickards, who joined us back in the dark days of 2014 when we first opened, and is just completing his 2nd year at university. So first of all, I would like to introduce Liam. So welcome, Liam. Firstly, a few questions. We're going to do like a question and answer session. So what courses are you studying in the 6th form, Liam?
John, we seem to have lost Liam from the call. Can we skip ahead to Ben for now?
Absolutely, yes. Okay, all best laid plans and everything. So Ben left us after 2018, and he had 4 years with us. And Ben's going to talk to you about his experiences at UTC Swindon, and also about what he's doing now and what his plans are for the future. So Ben, over to you.
Thank you, John. As everyone said, hi, I'm Ben, and currently I am a second year student at Bournemouth University. So I'm currently studying design engineering, and I'm getting ready to start my placement in August, which is very exciting. And I think throughout university, my time at UTC, the 4 years that I spent, definitely hasn't been forgotten due to how valuable those 4 years definitely were. So as I said, I joined UTC when it first opened in 2014. So from year 10 and 11, and then carried on into year 12 and 13. So I left my traditional school in the end of year 9. And I chose to move due to a lack of opportunity, really. And like now, I'm very passionate about digital technologies and engineering, and kind of coming up with loads of ideas about how to make things better in the world, I suppose. And I really wanted to follow a engineering driven discipline and other STEM subjects to kind of help me and give me the opportunity to really push what I was passionate about. So I studied in the sixth form a BTEC level 3 diploma in engineering, which comprised of many various units that kind of gave me an opportunity to see what kind of part of engineering that I really enjoyed. And obviously based on the degree that I was in design engineering, I enjoyed working with other people in big teams, with employers as well, to kind of look at problems and see how they can be solved using design and kind of manufacturing methods. And I also decided to study an A-level in physics, which I thought would be really important to have a mix between the BTEC and the A-level, because it's really boosted the kind of key principles of engineering, and the engineering principles that we learned in A-level physics have really been applied to what I'm learning now and what I did with my BTEC as well. So I think the opportunities that I had were, you couldn't really compare them to anything you get at a traditional school, because we were learning technical skills in the classrooms, in the workshops, as well as our theory, but we also had the opportunity to work alongside employers with employer-led projects, to use the skills and the theory that we'd learned to work on projects with companies such as the Navy, such as REME, Network Rail, which I think was so valuable to what I kind of know now, because I could bounce my ideas and learn from industry professionals and academics around me and people that were passionate about the same things that I was. I think that that's really important to kind of boost what I was doing now. And I also think as well as the industry-led projects, I think that the preparation for work that I've gained from UTC Swindon is also next to none. So I've kind of used those skills that I've learned in interviews and when I was applying for university, and people interviewing me and industry professionals, I've always pointed out on my CV that you've been to UTC Swindon, tell us about this. They're interested and they want people with technical skills and people with a passion, people that are driven to kind of follow what they really care about. And that's really all the interviews kind of consist of, just saying, tell us about this, tell us about this. How is it working with this company? And I think if I'd stayed at my previous school, just a traditional school, I wouldn't have had these opportunities, and I wouldn't be able to learn the skills that I had and have the opportunities that I did. So as well as the course, I got to work with a lot of industry employees. I also had two kind of sections of work experience. One, I did 2 weeks in year 10, and I also did 2 weeks in year 12. And these were very, very different. One was kind of electronics based, work experience, which I really enjoyed. It wasn't something I had a lot of experience with, but I think again it's about opening different doors in engineering, technologies, and STEM subjects of how broad kind of it really all is. And in my I think it was year 12, I did 2 weeks at Torrens Sifan, a partner of UTC Swindon, and I worked on testing and the design of impellers and fans, which I really think is where I kind of got my passion for design and seeing how things work and how efficient they are. And I really enjoyed those 2 weeks. They're probably one of the most two valuable weeks I've ever had, really. So, as I said, I've got my placement for university coming up, which is a year's internship. And this will be at Torrens Sifan, the same company I did my work experience with. I contacted them. I said that I really enjoyed the 2 weeks I did with you. Is there any opportunity to come back with you and kind of carry on what I've learned? And just because it was such an enjoyable experience and so valuable. And they said, yeah, come along. And I went, had a little interview again. And they were asking me about UTC. They weren't bothered about what I'd done at university and everything. Everyone always looks at the CV and my experiences and asks about UTC because there's something that really stands out compared to anyone else that may be on my university course. And so yeah, on my university course, there's a lot of students that maybe have done art and graphics and maybe like resistant materials and stuff. But so for the first year, I was kind of leaps and bounds ahead of all my other colleagues and peers, just because I'd been taught the fundamental knowledge and the skills, not only from the academics and lecturers at UTC Swindon, but also, as I said, people in industry that have had the experience and people who can give you a lot of knowledge and opportunity. So I think, if anything, you can kind of take from my experience and what I've learned is that if the opportunity is presented, it's there for the taking. If you're passionate about engineering and digital technologies and STEM subjects, I think UTC is the place to go for sure, because you wouldn't have these opportunities anywhere else, and I definitely wouldn't have a placement. I'd probably be going back to my final year like a lot of my other peers, because they've not done the work experience that I've done. They've not had all this experience. They've only just learnt the theory in the classroom, and that's good. But I think as much opportunity as you can get, I think UTC Swindon is completely full of them, with all the employees and sponsors that really do look at the students and think really highly of them. So yeah, if I can tell you one thing, you can take anything away from my experience, I think UTC Swindon, the opportunities you'll get from people around you and people in industry is like so valuable, and hopefully it will take you as far as you really want to go. So yeah.
Lovely, thanks Ben. I think you've answered a lot of the questions I was thinking about asking you, so that's brilliant. And one final question, what are your career plans when you graduate?
My career plans after I graduate, so at the moment I'm doing a bachelor's degree, and I think I enjoy it so much that I'll probably go on and do a master's. I've been looking at master's courses at Bournemouth University, and they offer two in the engineering discipline. They do mechanical engineering and project management, and I enjoy the project management and the design side of things. So I think that'd be a good option for me to go down, and because there's a lot of project work that I can take part in and use skills that I've learned to help me with that. And if we're talking long term, I suppose my kind of big goal is to become a chartered engineer, which is a reason for doing the masters. As well as the experience, the masters will give me a big step up for that. But I think being chartered is the big goal, because I think even if you are chartered, you're still learning as an engineer. Things are always changing, and there'll always be a need for people with a really, really good STEM knowledge and engineering backgrounds. And I think companies will always be looking for students like us that really are passionate about the subjects. And I think every day, even when I've been working for years and years, you're still learning. I think as long as I'm still learning from other people, I think that's my main kind of goal from starting in 2014 at UTC.
Yeah, fabulous. Well, thank you ever so much. If you were in the lecture theatre now, we'll give you a round of applause, but we'll give you a virtual round of applause. But thank you very much. And also there'll be some questions maybe you might have a chance to answer a bit later on. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Some questions you might have might be around how to apply. Making applications in year 10. We've got a few places for year 10 entry this year. Also, we're taking entries for September 2021. Now, clearly with the situation, but also in our current country situation as well, you know, moving school might be something that causes you to feel a bit unsettled. So in terms of the process, we want to make sure that you joining UTC Swindon is exactly what fits right for you, your aspirations, your dreams, your skills. And so what will happen is once you put an application in, we will invite you, probably remotely at the moment, for an interview, which is more like a meeting, so nothing to worry about, and the chance for you to talk through your application. And if we have space for year 10 or year 12, we can then process the application then. So there is still time. And hopefully, once you've had a chance to think through what we've been talking about tonight and want to contact us, then the details for how to apply are on our website. There is an area on that map there that shows about postcodes. We do take, until we are full, we take students from outside that 20-mile radius as well. So we have students from Melksham, Chippenham. We've had one from Stroud before. So again, you know, the Swindon area is as our base, but actually coming from outside is not an issue. Transport routes into Swindon are excellent, which is why we are housed here. If you haven't been to the college, we have a remote tour on our website. Have a look at that. But also it's important that if you do apply to come here, that you have a little tour around as well and see how magnificent these buildings are. I'm actually in our main workshop, which was part of the Swindon Works railway carriage, one of the workshops for there. So we have a lot of heritage type buildings along with some really modern technology as well. Okay, so now we're moving on to the final part. So I'd like to thank you for attending this virtual session, and I'll just wrap up after you've had a few questions. So do we have any questions? I'll hand over to Stacey, who's our compare.
Thanks, John. We have had a few questions in, but just a reminder for everyone else, if you do have a question, if you just pop it on the Q&A function on your screen, or if you've joined by Facebook Live, you can put it in your comments there, and that will feed through to us. So the first question we've got through for you, John, is will I get to meet other new students before joining in September?
Yeah, good question. We would have been having 2 taster days for year 10 and some sort of taster experiences for new year 12 students. Now, clearly at the moment, with the restrictions on how many students we can have in school, that is not going to be possible. What we have done is we have sent out some engagement activities for individual students to complete between now and the end of term. But also we are now following up with phone calls for each student from a member of staff. And then we will have virtual tutorial sessions before the end of term. Now, should the government decide that the situation suddenly changes as quickly as they decided about pubs yesterday, then we will try and get students in, because obviously being here and meeting other students is really important. However, because we are much smaller, we currently have 55 students in year 10, and we're looking for a similar number for next year, you will settle in really quickly. We have fewer students in the college than you probably have in your year group. So therefore, you will not be an unknown. All staff will know who you are and students will know who you are. And it is an anxious time changing school, but you will settle in really quickly. If we're not able to do the face-to-face, which it looks like we're not going to be this year, we will continue having communication with you and try and set up things remotely as much as we can.
Thanks, John. We have a question on admissions. Are there still spaces for September, and when do they need to get that application in by?
Yeah, so we have probably about 5 or 6 spaces in year 10. Obviously, I've had to set the curriculum and timetable and staffing based on the applications we've had, but we can take another 5 or 6 students. So the sooner you put an application in, we will immediately, if it's done online, we can follow up the next day, but we can invite you in remotely to have a discussion with you, and you will still be a student of your current school until the 1st September, but obviously we can manage that very quickly.
We've got another one here for you, John. Does it take 2 or 4 years to complete a level 3 engineering course for year 12?
Yeah, good question. 2 years. We have some students who might take 3 years for their studies, as any sixth form provider might do, but generally it is over 2 years.
And one on uniform. Is there a uniform for UTC Swindon?
There is. We must be sending out information packs. We have what has been termed business wear in the past. Now, clearly, if you're working in a workshop, you need overalls and reinforced toe boots. But we're actually changing the terminology to boardroom wear. So rounded about, we have suit, tie. I'm not wearing one today because it's really hot. I've actually got a jacket, which I've just taken off because it's boiling. So we wouldn't expect students to wear those in these sort of conditions. But generally, students will wear a jacket, tie for the boys, smart trousers, proper shoes, as if they were in the boardroom. And the reason we do this, and most UTCs do, is because that's what employers want. Students looking smart. Generally, these marginal gains about looking smart and working smart are effective.
We do have a question actually about employers. How often will I get to work with an employer partner? I know, John, you mentioned about the pipeline days there.
Yeah, so depending which year, there are 4 designated days for all of year 12 and year 13. There will also be 2 weeks of work experience, all being well, for year 10 and year 12. And we have had, including the virtual work experience, I won't count every employer, but we have had 80 sessions or periods or activities involving employers in this academic year. Now, that's not 80 for every student. There aren't enough days for that, but clearly there are a large number of activities, whether it's a presentation, whether it is a workshop, whether it is a project, whether it is our year 10, 20 students have the opportunity to go up to Intel on 4 days during the year and do some team building, some work-related skills, some digital-related training, if you like. So that is part of the sort of the pipeline experience and pipeline program. So we have a wide range of employers who work with us regularly. There is a measurement that schools have called the Gatsby benchmark, and every school in the country is required to complete that. And I haven't mentioned Ofsted because actually, we're really pleased with the outcome, but that's not the reason I haven't mentioned it. It's not what we're here for. But our Ofsted inspector said he'd never come across a school that had 100% completion of the 7 benchmark questions in the Gatsby benchmark. So we're absolutely delighted with that. So a lot of employer activity, and also a lot of it helps work through the curriculum as well, particularly in the sixth form.
Great. Are there any clubs for me to join at the UTC? Is the next question.
Right, well, so we have 5 hours of lessons a week more than any traditional school. We have 30 hours of taught lessons a week. That is equivalent to an extra day. We do not set homework as a rule. There are times you need to do additional work, and remote learning as things are now, generally. But we have got a kit car club we've had operating. We host the Royal Corps of Drums unit here at UTC Swindon. We've done that for about 6 months, and obviously that's suspended at the moment as well. But in terms of clubs and activities, we have no outdoor space here in terms of PE sports facilities. And because we have a longer day, generally students actually want to be able to engage with other interests they might have outside school. So by not having homework, students can go and take part in their sports clubs, their cadets, their other interests they might have. So we don't generally have a wide variety of extracurricular activities.
A question here about September. If we're still social distancing in September, how many students can you accommodate at one time?
Yeah, I'd like to be able to answer that, but unfortunately I can't. I mean, things are very fluid at the moment. Just to give you an idea, for our year 10s, I had planned to have half a year group in 4 days a week, or 4 half days a week, until the government made it very clear that you could only have 25% of the cohort in. So that plan went out. So we are planning to get all our students in as soon as is possible. Clearly, for new students and for our existing students, there's going to be a period of, I suppose, reconnection between home and school, between staff and students. And so we are going to have a longer sort of, I suppose, induction or reconnection process this year to allow students to come back into school so they don't feel under as much pressure. We don't know what the exam system is going to be in place for next year. There's a lot of unanswered questions that the government have said we've got plenty of time to answer. Well, we need some answers soon, all schools do. And as soon as we know what our plan is, we then will share that with all our current and new students and parents.
We've got a couple more that have come through. Do you know what qualification we'll get for a level 3 apprenticeship engineering?
Okay, well, we don't do apprenticeship courses as such. So students will study at level 3, that's in sixth form. It is equivalent to A-levels. So Ben, sparing his modesty then, he's muted anyway because he can't say anything. He got a double distinction star for engineering. That's equivalent to grade A at A-level. So students will generally have either in engineering, a double or a triple engineering set of qualifications, which they can take to university or to employment or to apprenticeships. So from a level 3 qualification, most students would go to a higher apprenticeship, which is the next level up. Some students that have left us has gone to an advanced apprenticeship, which is the level below, purely because they are taking a discipline that's very different to what they've studied. But apprenticeships, the 60+% of students who go year on year into apprenticeships, it is the attitudes they've got, the skills they've got that actually are what the employers are looking for.
We've got one more here. Just a reminder for anyone else, if you do have questions, pop them on the chat. Are there good travel links into the UTC?
Yes, and increasingly so actually. As I cycled in this morning, there are more buses on the road. Clearly, the current situation has been difficult. Most of our students do come by public transport. The students we've had come back in, the year 10s and our vulnerable students who come back in are generally cycling, walking or getting parents to drop off. But there was a student who came in very PPE'd out on the bus yesterday. So rail links, it is a student 10-minute walk. An adult that's walking quickly is probably a bit quicker than 10 minutes from the train station and from the bus station as well. The bus station has routes out well outside the Swindon area. And we also have a very significant bus route that comes through the railway village from all the local areas as well and drops off in Church Place, which is about a 2-minute walk from the college, or going eastwards, it is about a 1-minute walk. So plenty of bus stops as well.
Thanks, John. That's all the questions that have come through.
Okay.
Liam has not been able to rejoin, I don't believe, as yet. Okay,
well, actually, I didn't have any questions. I had questions prepared for Liam, which actually Ben answered a lot of those without me even prompting him. So well done, Ben. If you have any further questions, please do contact us and we can follow those up. If there's anything that's been unanswered, we will send out further information to you. I'd like to thank you for your time with us this afternoon. It's a lot of information, and really this is a start point maybe for some of you thinking about 2021. If it is 2020 admission that you are thinking about, then please do contact us as soon as possible. We break up in 3 weeks' time for the summer, but even if you do apply during the summer, we're not going away on foreign holidays. We will still have staff working who will be able to follow up and have discussions with you about whether this is the right place for you or your child. Hopefully you've got an insight into what UTC Swindon can offer. And clearly for us, the most important thing is UTCs are the bridge between employment and education. And to that end, we achieve our core aim. Thank you for your time, and hopefully we will see you again. Good night.